Raekwon just now said that a big reason for any improvement we've seen in the defense recently is they've started to have fun again. Is that too simple of an explanation?
No, I mean, around here, no. Because the reality is, these guys have a lot of pressure on them, a lot of things, and that's overwhelming. Us as coaches do the same thing. And the reality is to remind them at times, hey, this is a game you love to play, and you got to find a way to continue to love it. And sometimes we all need to be reminded. I know I stress it as a coach. I know I did a big time job of it last week of talking about it, and I tell them all the time, the things that I reiterate to you, I'm really reiterating to myself. So we got to make sure we understand we have that mentality. This is a game they love to play. They prepare to play it. We got to find a way to have a good time doing it.
Do you have to crack a joke or something? I mean, it just seems like it's.
No, it's not really fun like that. It's just the reality of staying light. It's believing in what you do. Not worrying about the outcomes too much. And I think that's the one toughest thing about everything we do. So many people talk about and focus on every week. Here comes rankings. It's all about the destination instead of really trying to enjoy the journey and the things that we do every day.
Luke,
what
were
the
was asked
indicators
about
like Saturday? What was the indicator that your defense was having fun? That they were, besides the pick six, taking back to the house immediately.
It really is. It's the feeling in the locker room, to be honest with you. You got some feelings before the games and things like that.
Yeah.
All Saturday, it's such a long day. All the preparation, all the things that you do, just to see those guys walking around with a little bounce in their step, a little bit lighter, believing in what they do. Not that they don't always, but sometimes at some point in time the pressure can mount. I know in big games like that, the coach puts a lot of heat on them. I mean, this is a big game. It's a night game in Ohio State and the largest crowd, But the reality is you got to make sure you can step back, understand that this is the fruit of your labor, and find a way to enjoy it.
Luke, Urban Meyer was asked if Dante Booker might redshirt about an hour ago, and he said it's a possibility, but he said he needs to talk to you about. It's really your call. Can you give some insights there? Is there a chance that Dante Booker might redshirt?
It's something that we've discussed, and each and every week Dante and I sit down probably on a Monday night and kind of rehash and see where we are. I'd say for the first time last week, I'd say he's back to being at full go. And he looked good. He made some good plans, had some confidence on his leg, and he's available for us to go ahead and play. And now we just got to make a wise decision based on what's best for this team.
I mean, that's a tough thing to be a kid who's on a team that could be on the verge of accomplishing some major goals and being completely healthy. I mean, where do you see his mind space being of just in that discussion when you sit down with him of where he is? Because it's on one hand.
No, the greatest thing about it is Dante is fully committed to this team, and whatever this team needs, he is willing to do. He's not looking at it in a selfish aspect of any means. And some people would say, hey, I haven't played yet. I got a chance to redshirt. I could use another year. The reality is he knows whatever's going to be best for this team. If we have the option, if we have that luxury, if something happens where we don't need him, then we could possibly do that. But the reality is he's preparing every week. He's the guy out there taking as many reps with the twos as anybody else. And that is what gives him an opportunity to still stay locked in, successful. And when if we need to put him on the field, we got no issues.
The mid-career redshirt isn't a very common thing at Ohio State, but I can remember, I think it played well for Mike Thomas.
Well, there's a bunch of guys. And again, that's what it's kind of meant for, in case guys get injured and things that happen a little bit longer than normal, because you don't really know. And the reality is that's why they give you 5 to play 4. Now I'd look at him and I'd say, is he a kid that needs 5 years? No. I mean, he could, if he wants to take that step to the next level and he stays healthy, he could have an opportunity. He doesn't need 5 years, but it's there. It's ability to have it. If we can, it's a great asset to the program as well.
Is it similar to
you saw Bruce Campbell up close in person, both ways? Can any of your guys play offense? And
he's just doing a soft toss one up there too, a little lob up. I don't know if you're talking about 24 or anything like that. But
what about any discussions?
They got a lot of guys over there they need to get the ball in the hands of, and I don't know if you want to disrupt the chemistry of different things, because there goes a lot into that. I mean, the reality is, there's a guys that can do a lot of really good things, and obviously Malik's one that you've seen in the last obviously few weeks with his ability with his hands on the ball to take it back. But you also got to look at the chemistry and the things you do, and in order for Malik to continue to get better at what he's doing, focusing in on those things are what he needs to do. So. Again, guys are so fully committed to the team. If there's something they needed to do, they'd be willing to do it. They would marvel at it and be excited about it. But the reality is, in the long run, where does that help you? Where does that put you? That's something that's left for that head job.
What's a pick six do for you guys? I mean, from your perspective, other than points.
It's energy. In this game, this is a game of energy. This is a game of momentum. And when you got the momentum, you got to find a way to keep it. If you don't have the momentum, you got to do something. Coach talks about it all the time with young teams. When you don't have the momentum, you got to do something. Whether that's a fake punt, whether that's make some big play, take some chances on some things. Because with a young team, he'll say momentum is worth 14 points. With an older team, you know, a more mature team, maybe momentum's only worth 7 because you can pull yourself out of it either way. So for us, being a little bit younger, and we don't use that as an excuse by any means, momentum is huge.
Do you have to do anything on the other side? Like, do you ride the momentum or tell them don't get overconfident?
No.
Okay.
Again, some of the greatest attributes you can have is confidence. Now, we know that can backfire at times on it too with overconfidence, but the reality is, in the mind scheme, the things we want our guys to understand, that's a part of having fun. You know, is enjoying that momentum, having some confidence, having the belief, having the faith. And you saw it shine. Obviously, when things go well, it's a lot easier to see that. But the reality is, it was still those first half. You know, I wouldn't say the end of the first half, but the reality is, it was still. I mean, you know, they drove the ball down there. We make a stop. You know, get the ball back. Still only 14-3, and you know, there was at least some adversity that we had to see how they would handle that. You know, the pressure and the big stage, and staying relaxed.
Going back to Malik, you recruited him. What he does with the ball in his hands, is that something you look for, or is that kind of a bonus on top of an already nice skill set?
Again, I saw what he did with the ball in his hands on the basketball court. I didn't see as much of what he did with the ball in his hands and on the football field, but it's obviously a great asset to have. You know, when you find different ways, maybe they'll throw him back to be a punt returner of some sorts. I don't know, but you still got to do the things that you do really well, and I think that's where, as a young guy, you know, I know we did it with Chris Gamble and some things. We just got to make sure there's a little bit different playing corner than there is safety, and a little bit different just going out there and running a streak than it is in the safety of understanding what we're doing with the scheme of who we are.
Did he dunk a lot?
Scouting report.
Yes.
Can you kind of give your scouting report on Maryland, and how hard is it to prepare for a team where you don't know who the quarterback's going to be?
I don't know that it's as hard to prepare for them because of not sure what quarterback. I think they're going to do what they do, and I know that they've got 3 different guys, and one may be a little bit different than the other 2, but the reality is they're going to run the quarterback. They're still going to be the core, the system of who they are. They would change a bit with 7. So, I mean, again, it makes us have to prepare. Maybe it helps us a little bit to be, you know, not overthinking too many things, continue to do the things that we do. But we got to prepare like the normal guys are going to be there, and kind of focus in on the offense that they've run the last few weeks with those guys.
Even against Michigan, they showed some explosiveness. How explosive are they? What do you see as their strengths on offense and maybe their issues?
They make you play. They make you play 11-on-11 football because every option they have is to run the quarterback. You know, and with those kinds of things, you got to take some liberties of putting people tighter in the box and doing some things, which then opens others. So if you looked at them last week against a team up north, I think they had 150 yards on screens. So they're moving the football. Maybe didn't score obviously a lot of points in some of the games. They haven't scored, but they've definitely moved the football. They've got some really good schemes, and you know, they've got some talent. They've got some guys, if they can get the balls in their hands out there on the outside, they can make some plays.
Their freshman running back, I can't remember his number, but does he seems to be a quick guy from DeMatha. I mean, what just shows up about him specifically?
I think in the last 4 weeks, you've seen him come a little bit more into his own.
Right.
I mean, he's the guy that's got the majority of the reps in the last 4 weeks. I know there's still a little bit of a balance, but he is definitely a guy, I think, in their scheme and the things that they want to do that gives them the ability to work the field laterally.
Yeah.
Can put his foot in the ground and get back vertical as well. So, you know, he's a shorter guy, stockier, but I think he fits a little bit more of what they want to do with working the field horizontally.
Did you guys change some of your personnel in your nickel package? Last week you had Gary on in the slot. What can you take us through maybe that discussion? How you guys decided?
Just trying to find. I mean, those 3 guys out there at corner. It's hard taking them off the field, and just trying to find another way to keep those guys on the field in some situations. You know, not that we wanted to get Arnett off, but the reality is, to give Gary on some opportunities, maybe even 2, to where guys are going to take more shots at him. You know, and we believe he might be one of the best that we got. So the ability to put him a little bit closer to the ball, ask him to do some things that he, you know, maybe hasn't done as much out there because it's a little bit different. We think it gives us a little bit of advantage.
Look, how
it's
good of a
more
game
and
did
more
those?
now, right?
Yeah.
Like Northwestern did that. Their best receiver they put in the slot a lot.
Well, a lot of
Nebraska seemed
guys
like
do
they were
that.
doing that.
A lot of guys are going to
right?
do that too, because especially against us, because that usually gets them off of the press.
Right.
And a lot of times they want to give themselves some wiggle room to make those moves and things like that. It's if you're not used to press, it can become a little bit more difficult. And I think that's why we've been so good on the outside. We get really good at what it is we do. Guys are just going to have to take shots on them. Those slot receivers have a little bit more to deal with.
How good of a game did your your three corners, Garyon, Denzel, and Marshawn. How good of a game did they have on Saturday, and do you see that carrying over? Because
yeah, they
had shots.
They took some
taken
shots
out.
on them. I mean,
Yeah.
that was probably the most shots we've been challenged outside. But
Yeah.
it all works as a unit and as a group. I mean, you guys could look at it and say, well, there's 0 sacks. It might have been as good of closing the pocket and squeezing the pocket and disruptive of a pocket as we've had all year.
Mm-hmm.
And what is that to show for it? Sometimes I say the most overrated stat is sacks, but the reality to squeeze that pocket to get a hand in the air, I mean, that ball was out in under 2 seconds, probably on every single throw.
Yeah.
But that was a little bit of their game plan. But we may have forced them to do that a little bit more, and they put the challenges on the outside and the corners, and I think they made as many plays as they could. I don't know if we got one caught on us outside there.
Thanks, Luke. Appreciate it.
Thank